in rentals, the refurbishment flow is kind of like built in, and it might be a little bit, let's say, simpler or smaller flow. So for example, bikes, you always check the brakes, you always check the tires, you always check that everything is safe and everything is working. And if it's okay, then you kind of mark it as available for the next rental.
Yeah.
But then on the end of the cycle, you kind of come back into this, let's say, complete refurbishment flow, which includes like a lot of these different phases, and then possibly individualizing it also as a like a listing or making it available as individual item for purchase. Or
yeah, and I'd say with rentals, it's actually the kind of listing out your rental item is easy. It can be as easy as just selecting it from your inventory and then creating a listing out of it. The reason for that is that it's kind of continuously going through this refurbishment. So we kind of know all of the information already because then we are inspecting it pretty much after every rental. So if it's a high volume renting, we should be quite in tune of what the condition is here. With rentals, I think the key thing, like this flow has been built into any rental operation, because depending on the market, you might even have some responsibilities of making sure that it's, you know, safe for the consumers to use. So you usually have this kind of process already built in. It might be that you haven't just documented it or in a digital way, and you're losing out in a lot of the analysis and figuring out operational efficiency, and it becomes you cannot really maximize the optimization on the reselling at the end of the life cycle. But so yeah, rental companies really tend to have these, and in the simplest ways how software that are built for rentals kind of take this into account is that they just have some kind of a maintenance or buffer time. And then on a high level, you've said that after each booking, it takes me an hour to inspect the stuff, because then maybe your process is such that I inspect. If it works, it goes out. If it doesn't, it goes out of fleet. So you cover it with some kind of average time. It might work for small scale operations. I personally believe that, for example, the software that we're now bringing out to the market is that if you do it a little bit more granularly, you get a lot better data on, like, first of all, on how much revenue this is making, how long does it take to actually do these inspection processes, all of the details from those inspection processes, so that at any given moment you can go to your rental inventory, you can kind of see the maintenance history, and you can probably just with the snap of a button turn it into a listing if you want to start selling your rental fleet, instead of then starting to do a heavy lifting manual analysis on what's the condition of my fleet.
so in rentals, it's doing a lot of these like small cycles, and it's also, once again, super important that the inventory is able to see like how many times has it been used, how much maintenance there has been, spare parts used, and kind of bring this one rental item. It's becoming like an asset in your balance sheet that you kind of know exactly, like, this bike has generated this amount of revenue, the utilization rates and all of this, and maybe also at what time is it good time to sell it, so that the resale value is still high enough and enables me to maybe purchase a new item.
Yeah, the questions that you really want to have an answer at any given moment is that, what's the value of my inventory at any given moment? That's kind of dependent on a lot of that information. How profitable my items have been, so taking into account the rental income, but also time spent in keeping those in circulation, and the cost and time of that. So you're kind of doing this analysis because you over time you will acquire items that are not good. They're constantly in repair. You need to know this. You need to kind of figure out that, hey, next time I buy, I'm not going to buy that model or from that specific provider. So it's this kind of, and then on an item level, of course, there's I don't know whether there's an English term, but in Finnish there's this like maanantai-kappale, so a Monday item, so meaning that it was manufactured on a Monday, meaning that someone early in the morning didn't, on a Monday maybe.
Kind of like a bad apple.
Yeah, bad apple, so it didn't get the love and attention that it should have gotten. So you were unfortunate and you got a Monday item. So then it's then you want to kind of acknowledge these things that in your inventory and know that, okay, I don't aggregate the bad performance of this individual item to all of those. So I wouldn't want to run my rental operation on a level that I just know that 4 out, 1 in general, bikes tend to do good or bad. It might be good enough for, let's say, a small, you have 20 bikes at a beach. That probably, and you're a single entrepreneur or one employee, you have all of the information in your head, you have continuous contextual awareness of how things are going, and you store everything in your head. If you are that individual, you can probably run the business efficiently. I would still elect to save this somewhere in a more scalable way, so I can focus my headspace to other things like marketing or how to grow this operation or how to spend more time with the family without thinking about my inventory. But especially if you start to scale your operation to multi-locations or you start to have more employees that do not actually have continuously all of the context in their head, it becomes quite important to have a solution that then facilitates all of this.
And I would assume that as humans tend to be not the best with data, there might actually be a lot of surprises even for the single entrepreneur that, hey, I feel like this item is doing well, but then you can actually see the real data that it's actually not performing really well. Or
yeah, and then otherwise also you have these occasional huge performers that you just forget. There's I think a potential category for these are, for example, small add-on pieces. Like if you have like an adapter for something for a car and a trailer, just to kind of to be able to plug it in. That adapter might cost you $50, and you sell it as a additional service for $5 or whatever. But people just do not want to buy a $50 adapter to use that for a day or two or whatever. So they rather pay $5, $10, or even $20 for a $50 item for the convenience of not having to throw it out after the rental. So you might have 50 of those, but they in a year accumulate thousands of revenue. So you might identify these small items that have actually amazing gross margin potential, and if you would just push those a bit more aggressively as add-on sales, as kind of a convenience, quality of life thing as part of the rental, the kind of service, those might start making a lot of gross margin and cash for your operation. So I think it's also like it's identifying the bad apples, but it's also identifying these silent performers that are doing a lot of nice income for your business.
And also enabling testing these. If you are interested in expanding your business, you can start to do these small things and kind of not keep it in your head, even if you are a single entrepreneur, but just kind of do these little add-on offerings or similar and just have the data available after a month or two. And then you might actually understand that, hey, this is what I should actually be doing.
Exactly.